I see folks starting to pop in. Hello, hello. Welcome. I am excited to have everyone here. Um, we are going to get started here as folks roll in. I'm Melissa Brannan. I'm the director of Startup Prize Focus on Health. We really appreciate everyone hanging out. With me is Mark Newberg. He is a longtime friend and mentor with the Startup Prize, judge as well. I am going to go ahead and drop some contact information for myself in the chat for y'all. My email, Startup Prizes web address, my LinkedIn, as well as Startup Prizes LinkedIn for anyone looking to follow and stay in touch. We're going to answer a lot of questions today. We're going to go over a lot of things. Before we do, though, I would be remiss if I did not say a quick thank you to our sponsors. These are the folks that make everything possible. These are also the folks that help us provide travel stipends to you. So in your head, be thinking about these lovely people that help make Startup Prize possible. So Startup Prize is presented by the Prize Foundation and Louisiana Economic Development with generous support from the Anderson family, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Louisiana, Business First Bank, Caddo Management, Caddo Parish Commission, Chaff Associates, the City of Shreveport, Greater Bossier Economic Development Foundation, Heard McElroy and Vestal LLC, Kallenberg Phillips Family Investments, Heidi and Gregory Kallenberg, LSU Health Shreveport, North Louisiana Economic Partnership, and Oshner LSU Health Shreveport. Thank you to all of our sponsors. It is really with you that we are able to do this important work. So welcome everyone. Like I said, I'm Melissa, for those of you who are just hopping on. Mark is with me, and we are here to discuss Startup Prize Focus on Health, what it is and what we're doing, the process, all the things. Right now, what I would say is we're going to kind of go through the competition and a little bit of history, all the things. If you have a question as we are going over things, drop it in the chat. Mark and I are going to kind of be watching it, and we'll answer as it makes sense, if it applies to something we're talking about, or if not, we'll get them at the end. So with that, let's talk about Startup Prize. So Startup Prize has been around since 2014. Yes, Mark, that feels right. We were originally an industry agnostic competition, so really anything under the sun. And when COVID came along, we took a year off and took a step back. We really thought about how we were supporting founders, and we decided to kind of hone that focus in. I see a little bit behind me. I'm here in Shreveport, Louisiana, which is in Northwest Louisiana. Shreveport is a medical hub for our region. We have multiple hospital systems here. We have a medical school. We also have a level 1 trauma center, and there's a lot of innovation happening around health here. Maybe a little bit quietly. And we really wanted to shine a spotlight on that. And it made a lot of sense in terms of kind of coming off of COVID. We knew there would be a lot of innovation in the health space. So we launched Startup Prize Focus on Health in 2021. And this is our 5th year of the focus and the competition. Mark, anything to add?
Well, Startup Prize itself has been around since 2014. I've been around since 2015 with Startup Prize. I've been around much longer than that, chronologically. And it's not like anything else in the country. I'm from Boston. I lived in New Orleans for 8 years, DC for 8, and then moved back to Boston. I'm a mentor in residence for Mass Challenge, a mentor at the Harvard iLabs. I've been an advisor to Solve at MIT. I've done a lot of the name things. Startup Prize is special, and we'll talk more about why that is as we go on.
Ooh, what a lovely looked up. Thank you, Mark. All right, so let's talk qualifications first. I know a lot of folks have questions on eligibility, and it's pretty simple. We are looking for companies in the health, medical, life sciences sectors. We see a little bit of everything. in terms of company development, we tend to see early stage companies, and that's what we're looking for. We do have a cap on annual revenue, which is if you are earning 2 million annually, you are too far along for this competition. That said, it is the health and medical sector, and so we know that a lot of folks aren't generating revenue too early on. Let's see, health or medical focus or life science focus, not earning more than 2 million in annual revenue. And I mean, honestly, y'all, that's about it in terms of requirements. We see companies, I know, right? I like Rod already. He's like, woot. In terms of kind of where companies are falling, we see anything from ideation to kind of that early Series A. But typically the companies that are in our sweet spot are kind of that pre-seed, seed investment stage. People ask, do you have to be generating income or revenue? Nope, there's no expectation of that. But we're certainly looking to see if you're not generating revenue, who are those advisors, partners, team behind you? What sort of traction have you had to date? And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get to like the review process and all of that. But for now, in terms of qualifications, if you're eligible to participate, again, early stage, not generating more than 2 million in annual revenue, somewhere in that health, medical, or life science sector. Mark? Any additions to that?
No, that sort of covers it.
Hey, super simple, right? Okay, so let's talk about registration, which is very easy. So registration is literally going to our website, startupprize.com, and registering your company to participate. We do not charge a registration fee. We do not take equity. We do not make you move to Louisiana. Just want to put that out there. I know a lot of times there's a competition in a state. Some people are like, well, do I have to be in Louisiana to compete? No, this is a national entrepreneurial competition. We even see some international companies from time to time. You do not need to be Louisiana based. You do not have to move your company to Louisiana in order to be considered for the finals. There's 3 things that we are looking for in that registration form, besides just general contact information. One is what track you will be competing in. Startup Prize offers 2 tracks. There's an FDA and a non-FDA track. And it's truly, do you need FDA you need any sort of regulation from the FDA to get to market, or don't you? Just a quick caveat in that area, because this has come up from time to time. Sometimes we have folks who, and the end goal, it is to be regulated by the FDA. However, their initial strategy to get to market does not involve the FDA. So you would register as a non-FDA track if you are getting to market not through the FDA. So maybe you're launching your company direct to consumer, and then you're going to go through clinical trials, things like that, to get that FDA clearance. But your initial path to market is a non-FDA path. If that doesn't make sense, feel free to find me. I'll talk it out with you. We can figure out what track you really, truly belong in. Also, you choose your qualifying event. Mark, you want to just give a quick, very broad qualifying events? We'll go into more detail about them.
Sure. So this is one of those things that makes Startup Prize different. The qualifying event is not a pitch competition. I'm going to repeat that. It is not a pitch competition. There is no point at which you will be on stage pitching your company. It's a learning experience. Everybody in that room is there to learn and help you grow as an entrepreneur in a company. There's time to interact with all the mentors. There's time to interact with all your fellow entrepreneurs. But the whole goal is to give you access to experts in the various parts of the field that you're going into, the things that you need to build a successful company. And it's all about teaching and learning and building relationships, not pitching.
Perfect. That is a great description. Yes. So if you email me and say, Melissa, what's my pitch time? When do I pitch at the qualifying events? I'm going to tell you, no, sir. No, ma'am. We're not doing that. So
Yeah,
yes,
also, it's a really good way to let us know that you haven't listened to anything that's been said or communicated.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Mark kind of said it. Okay. So when you register, you're choosing your track, you're choosing your qualifying event. Uh, uh, you, we have two. So we have an online qualifying event, which will happen in May. We will also have an in-person qualifying event, which will happen in June. You may register for one. You may register for both. You may register for the online one, attend the online, and maybe think, maybe I do want to come to the in-person. That's okay too. But just select what you think you're going to attend right now. It makes my life a lot easier and I have accurate numbers and I appreciate that. So qualifying events, your
Excuse me.
track and the,
This is Mike. Can
Hey,
I ask
Mike.
questions, or do you want me to?
It's a lot easier if you throw them in the chat. But
Okay,
yes,
I'll do that.
perfect. Thank
Thank-
you so much. Yes, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. We'll answer them as we see them coming, especially if it's relatable. The last thing that we're going to be asking you about in that registration is your current challenges. Please don't put funding. We know everyone's looking for funding. But really, what are those pain points right now that your company is kind of pushing up against? It could be customer discovery. It could be like, we want to really think more about our reimbursement strategy. We need help, you know, with our financial projections. I mean, it doesn't necessarily even have to be health specific. This is things that your business needs help with, whether that is something around the health medical sector specifically, or something just around your business in general. So that is registration. Once you are registered, you'll also have access to the portal. You'll hear us say the entrepreneur portal. The entrepreneur portal is basically your application that you submit to be considered for the finals. Once you have registered, you will have access to the portal. You do not have to complete the portal before you attend a qualifying event. We just give you access to it so you can start working on it if you would like to. You can at least see what we're going to be asking you. So it's not, we just want to be transparent and allow people the chance to kind of see what we're looking for. That, my friends, is registration. Now we will move into qualifying events, which I get excited about. These are kind of some of the best, kind of the best thing about the competition to me. So I know Mark kind of gave you a little bit of a description for the qualifying events. And again, it really, these are the opportunity to access mentorship, to build those relationships, to make those connections. And I will tell you, the thing that we always hear is, this doesn't feel like a competition. This is so collaborative. If that appeals to you, you're in the right spot. We really, we really are focused on building a space that's welcoming and allows people to share challenges, share resources, share information. We firmly believe that all ships rise together in a tide. There's a better way of saying it, but all ships rise together. I don't rising tide, all ships rise. I'm just going to stop now. You all know what I mean. So what happens at the qualifying events if we're not pitching? So at the qualifying events, we are mostly sitting in roundtables. And that's really why we're asking you about the current challenges that you're experiencing right now. Really allows us, as we are reaching out to mentors, to really make sure we're reaching out to the right mentors and addressing the current challenges for this particular year of companies. It's important to us that, like, if there's things that you're looking for, and especially if a lot of your fellow founders are looking for resources or information in that area, that we find that and connect you with it. Now, that said, just because you you have a challenge doesn't necessarily mean there will be a roundtable specific to your challenge, especially when we start getting really in the weeds and like really specific uh, devices or specific specialties, things like that. But these roundtables really run the gamut, not only across health and medical sector, but kind of general business acumen and things that you would need in general around a business, no matter what industry you're in. Mark, you want to throw some topics out there for folks, kind of let people know of some things we've
Sure.
hosted?
Uh, Accounting and quality control is one. Impact and the P&L, that's probably where you'll find me. My background is in impact investing. Marketing and development, team building and hiring, um, partnerships,
Creating
partner
evaluation.
research partnerships, um, grant funding, how to write grants and things like that. We know that's going to be harder this year. There are fewer answers. Let me, what else? We've done, we've also in the past done intellectual property. I think that's probably a standard one. IP and protection of IP. There's also risk mitigation and planning, and you never know what else will come up. If C.N. Robinson is back, then you probably will have one on venture capital and what venture firms look for when they're evaluating companies.
Mhm. Definitely a lot of things around funding. In the past, we've had, for example, folks from Blue Cross Blue Shield to sit in and kind of give you a little bit of perspective from the payer side of things. I know it's really hard sometimes to get that sort of insight. And we've had hospital administrators host tables to kind of speak to, if you're looking to pilot with a hospital, what are kind of the things that they're looking for? What are things you're going to want to have in place? We've seen folks come in to speak to health tech specifically, to product development, like if you're developing a device, like that kind of testing, verifying, validating. We sometimes have seen CROs, like what do you need to kind of have ready to start those clinical trials? What's that process like? Folks also speaking to regulatory issues. Things like that. And then, of course, basic legal, whether that is around healthcare specifically or just governance for your company, how that works. We've blathered on. Hopefully you kind of see the breadth of what we're offering. And we do this, again, through roundtables. What will happen for both events is I will reach out with our roundtable selections. We allow each company, each attendee to choose the roundtables that are most applicable for you and give you, or kind of meeting you where you need that advice, that mentorship. So what'll happen is as we get closer past the registration deadline for our online qualifying event, I will collect all of the roundtables by session. You will get a description of the roundtable as well as who is hosting that roundtable. Then I will let everyone know exactly when it's going out. I will send out a roundtable selection form, and you get to rank the roundtables in the order that you would like to choose them. Or excuse me, or in order of preference for you. Let's see. This is a first come, first serve. The roundtables are about 1 hour long. Typically we cap them at 8 total, including the host. Sometimes we're able to do a little bit smaller, but we really want the opportunity for everyone to get to share, interact. Remember, it's also during we haven't talked about this yet. It's also during the qualifying events. Mentors are kind of watching and, for lack of a better term, silently judging you. And that sounds like really harsh, but realize that, as early stage companies, a lot of it, yes, that's definitely a question, Kaden. A lot of folks are, I just lost my thoughts. Sorry, Mark, where was I?
So at the
Oh, the
round
mentors
tables,
are watching. Mentors are
uh,
watching.
some of you have experienced this before. There are folks who have grown up believing that the best way to get attention is to dominate a conversation, and to not let other people get words in, so that whoever the important folks are notice you. At roundtables, it's the opposite. We want to see collaboration. We want to see you willing to help fellow entrepreneurs. Doesn't mean you don't talk about your thing, but one of the easiest ways to have mentors and or judges say, I don't know that that company meets the ethos of Startup Prize, is to dominate the conversation or belittle folks who are at the tables with you. And so also, Caden, to answer your question, uh, there there might be a slight benefit to being at both. It's part of why we offer a travel stipend, but we've had companies make the finals who weren't able to be there in person. So yes, it's of significant benefit for you as an entrepreneur to be there for the in-person because of the connections that you make in person, but to make it to the finals, it's not necessary.
Yes, and to kind of pile on to what Mark has already said, we've had finalists who have just attended the online qualifier, finalists who have just attended in person, and finalists who have attended both. The big difference between the online and the in-person is really that yes, health absolutely includes wellness. The big difference between, or sorry, yes, wellness, yoga, mindfulness, mental health. The big difference between the in-person and the online are really the opportunities for more networking. As you guys know, it's hard to create those kind of spontaneous conversation water cooler moments on Zoom. I mean, like, if y'all have found a way to do it, tell me, because I want to do it for y'all.
I've seen a lot of startup ideas for how to do it. I haven't seen them
Yeah,
work.
we're working on it. But really, that's the difference. So, for our online qualifier, we do 2 half days of roundtables and panels. For the online, I think it's 4 roundtables and maybe a panel and maybe a keynote conversation. I call it a roundtable sandwich. We'll start with a roundtable, we'll break out, we'll all come back together for a panel, then we'll break out for another roundtable, and then we'll wrap the day. It's just more than that, it gets to be too much on a computer screen. The in-person is a little bit, we bring people in on a Friday afternoon, we host a mixer to allow people to meet one another, founders and mentors, and sometimes partners here in the area that just want to come by and say hello. Then we do our all day long or qualifying event on Saturday. We have an optional kind of social event that evening, and then we have a brunch on Sunday, kind of wrap everything up and send you off. Someone asked, what is the engagement with mentors after the qualifying event? I gotta say, it kind of depends. These are all mentors who do not work for us. These are not paid mentors. These are mentors who are all volunteering. So sometimes I would say if you had a really good connection with one of the mentors at the event, there's some engagement, but there's not like per se office hours. There's no expectation that the mentors are going to engage with every single participant. Remember, at these events, sometimes we'll have 70, 80 people, and there's just one person responding to 70 or 80 companies. So I don't want to mislead anyone to think that like you're going to get hours with mentors just out of the blue. But mentors kind of determine how much they want to engage. Some mentors are more giving of their time, and some just don't have as much time to give. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Let's see. Okay, a question regarding FDA, non-FDA track choice, diagnostics focus, thinking of pursuing partnerships with CLIA certified labs, FDA approval. long-term. Let's see. You know what, Rose? Why don't we chat afterwards? It's a little more complex. But for
Sounds
sure,
good. Thank you.
we'll get you figured out. All right. So online versus in person, the last thing I will say is, as Mark indicated, you know, we are fortunate enough to often be able to provide travel stipends, because, you know, we understand that as an early stage company, most of you probably aren't generating revenue quite yet, and it's strapped. And we know it's not exactly cheap to get across the country sometimes, and we do see folks from across the country. So as you are registering, you'll be asked about a travel stipend. We will, as we get closer to our in-person qualifying event, which will be after the online qualifying event, we will begin reaching out and determining that. Basically, just to kind of be a little bit more transparent about that, what that would involve for each company that participates, we're typically able to provide one hotel room, and often a reimbursable travel stipend. Now, when I say reimbursable travel stipend, I don't want you to think that we're automatically going to be able to like completely cover 2 flights from Boston into Shreveport, no problem. It's really about trying to offset some of the cost. And we just ask that, you know, please be honest in what you need and what, you know, what you can do on your own as well. We want to try and provide this to as many people that are in need of a stipend, to help them out as possible. But again, just to be fully transparent, if you are flying and have like a $800 ticket, do not expect for the full amount of your flight to be reimbursed. That said, once you get here, we do a pretty good job of feeding and entertaining you. So you shouldn't have too many expenses once you make it to Shreveport.
I don't do a great job of entertaining, but that's distinct from the Startup Prize and Prize Foundation team, which is far more entertaining by personality than I am.
We give Mark a break. All
Yeah.
right, so that is kind of a description of the qualifying events. Here's what we often see, and feel free to do the same. A lot of folks opt into the online qualifying event because they're like, who is Startup Prize? Who are you folks? What are you about? The online qualifying event is a great way to kind of stick your toe in the water and see what we are about. And if after attending the online qualifying event, you're like, wow, this is really good for me. This is kind of what I've been looking for. All you really need to do to move into that in-person qualifying event is to shoot me an email and say, I'm in, like, I want to come hang out. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Let me just give a
deliberately.
caveat here.
Oh, okay, yes.
If you sign up for the online and then don't show up and don't tell us why, and then ask to come to the in-person and for a travel stipend, you're probably not going to get it.
Well, yeah. Do you think we have to tell people that though?
We've had instances where people have just flaked out on the in-person and then assumed they could, or flaked out on the online and assumed they could come to the in-person and would get a travel stipend for it. And there's something about that that just doesn't sit right.
Agreed. I feel that. So anyway, folks, that's kind of the qualifying events. So we'll host 2 May 9th and 10th is the online qualifying event. And they said we typically do that 2 half days, generally 9 a.m. Central to at the latest 1 p.m. Central. The in-person qualifying event happens right here in Shreveport, also known as Prizeport. You'll hear it from time to time. That is going to be occurring June 20th through the 22nd, a Friday through a Sunday. And then the last date you really need to keep in mind as we roll towards the portal is our portal deadline, which is June 30th. Mark, want to take portals? I feel like I've been talking a lot.
Sure. So the portals are a short version of the business model canvas. You get asked questions, you answer the questions in writing. This is where I usually have to say, if you cut and paste from other applications, we can usually tell. And if you have AI write it for you, we can usually tell. So what we're looking for are thoughtful answers about how Startup Prize can help you with challenges that you're having, and thoughtful reasoning around why your thing has a good chance at succeeding and solving a defined problem that matters.
Good. It's a good description. All right. So as soon as you register, once you've hit the yes, register for me for a qualifying event, you have access to the portal. So you will be able to see all sections. You don't have to complete one to get to the next. It is all there for you. You can begin working on it immediately, or you can set it to the side. At minimum, I recommend just looking through, just making sure you know what's expected. And again, to Mark's point, if you've applied to other accelerators, if you've applied to other competitions, there shouldn't be really any surprises. We're really looking for what problem you're addressing, how you plan to solve it, how you're getting to market, financials, who's that team behind you?
Who your paying customer is.
Yes, yes. What we also look at what traction you've made to date, and that can come in all sorts of forms. That might be any other funding, whether that's non-dilutive or funding from investors. It could be partnerships, what strategic partnerships that you've managed to secure. It could be the team that you're building behind you or advising you. It could be pilots that you have secured as well. I mean, a lot of these things, it doesn't necessarily have to be revenue, but just what kind of milestones have you hit? What's your traction to date? And then of course, we'll ask about your IP and patents, if you have any. If so, what stage are you?
This is worth digging in on. One of our judges is an IP attorney. If you have IP and you say you have a patent and you say what the patent protects, and it's not what you say it is, you will run into a problem in the judging room if you make it to the finals. So this is just general entrepreneurial guidance, but it's also really specific to Startup Prize. Know what IP you have, know whether it's protected or not, make sure it's done professionally by a professional, and then be ready to talk about it. Because especially in health, especially in the FDA track, your IP is your value.
I mean, I don't think I can add anything to that.
I also want to add something. In the portal submission, we're also looking for what your model is that will let you scale. And by scale, we don't mean you have to go national, but the model does have to scale beyond just what you as an individual can do. We most frequently run into this in the sort of the service part of health and wellness, whether it's a massage therapy business or yoga or anything in the usually taught by a person or done by a single practitioner. I run a consulting firm. Consulting doesn't really scale beyond the number of hours I or any of the folks I work with have in a day. If your model doesn't have a component that will help you scale, or I mean, scale could be adding a second or third or fourth studio, but you have to be able to answer how you think you can get there.
This is a good point. Let's see, anything else about the portal? Okay, the other thing you should know about the portal is currently the portal's open, which means as soon as you register, you're able to, as I said, get in there, look at things, start working on it, things like that. What you will not be able to do is submit. So we lock our submit button on the portal. There's I mean, the main reason is because things change. Right now it's March. I've had folks try and submit something in March and 3 months later, their company looks very different. These are all early stage companies. Things can change. The landscape can change in months. So what I don't want to do is keep unlocking and relocking and unlocking and relocking. So we just lock it.
And also, the roundtables may help you figure out the
Mm.
answers to some of the questions in there, or may
Beat
help
me
you
to it.
realize that there's a pivot to something more valuable that you don't yet realize. And if you've already submitted your portal entry, that presents a workflow problem for everybody.
Yes, for all of us. So again, the portal's there. Begin working on it now if you want. We encourage you, but know that the portal button to submit will not unlock until Sunday, June 22nd, when we finish up with our in-person qualifying event. That is the portal. I mean, it's not as scary as it sounds, just a different name. Okay. Once those portals are submitted on June 30th, that is the deadline, then they get sent out for review. We send them out to some of the mentors that we've worked with. We send them out with other partners and industry folks that we know out there. Sometimes it's other accelerators, but folks that are familiar with businesses and just have a chance to review all of these companies. Let's see. So it's based on not only the application that you've submitted, your portal, but as we talked about earlier, also interactions from mentors. So we also
And
get feedback from mentors that led roundtables during those qualifying events.
And there have been situations, I'm not going to name companies, but there have been situations where an idea that seemed really good on paper didn't hold up in the way the entrepreneurs presented it or acted at an in-person qualifier. And you can tell when mentors have had a great experience with an entrepreneur or a not great experience with an entrepreneur. And no matter how good the written answer is, if the in-person doesn't meet the ethos of the prize, which is really about helping everybody succeed, then chances are it's not going to get selected for the finals.
I would add, it's good to kind of think of this as like horns and halos effect, right? I mean, like, if you are like just the most awesome person, but your idea is garbage, or not, garbage isn't the right word. It's really mean. If you're an amazing person, your company has some challenges. Let's put it like that. Just because the mentors love you and think you're eventually going to figure it out, you're not going to. I mean, like, your company has to be strong as well. But that said, every year the the funneling down, I can't think of the right word, but bringing it down to 5 finalists has gotten more difficult each year. I mean, the program has grown, and the caliber of companies that are coming to hang out with us has also risen. So we see like really great companies. The first year, 2021, I can tell you, I like knew 4 out of the 5 companies before we even sent out the portals. Last year, I would say there were like 15 companies where I'm like, I could see any of these companies moving on to the finals. So again, it's not going to land you there. Definitely may knock you out. But if anything, a glowing review is just going to make it more likely that if your scores are close and mentors keep saying, oh my gosh, yes, this person, like, I love the way they thought about things, their mentality, they were so open to like taking in constructive feedback, things like that. All the glowy
And
things about you.
just in general, it makes it more likely that the mentors in the future will want to answer questions that you have wherever you end up. And since this is about building networks and making sure you succeed, that's the kind of relationship you want to build.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is the portal. And the review process. I believe there's metrics on the website. If you're like, what are you scoring on? It's nothing that should, again, be surprising. Uniqueness of the idea, what's your value proposition, speed to market, viability, who's like special sauce, like who's the team behind you, or maybe partnerships or affiliations. Um, these are things that we are looking at. Benefit to humanity. It sounds big, it sounds bold, but like we really truly are looking for companies that are going to make a huge impact in this sector. Okay, I think that kind of covers the review process. Like I said, June 30th is the deadline. We send out all of the applications, and then late July, Gregory and I will do a live announcement here from Shreveport. We will broadcast it out. We will announce the finalists who will be joining us in August for the final. Typically, well, I mean, the past years, we have 5 finalists. We typically have 2 FDA track finalists and 3 non-FDA track finalists. To kind of put that in perspective, just to kind of start wrapping your head around numbers, everyone's always asked. Last year, we saw 70 companies that were participating. And by that, I mean, they either joined us for an in-person qualifying event and the online qualifying, or both. Of those companies, I believe about just over 40 to 45 submitted a portal application. And out of those, we whittled it down to 5. Let's see. We typically see about 1/3 of the companies that participate with us are in that FDA track, and about 2/3 are in the non-FDA track. Once we get down to our finals, like I said, we announce them and we bring them here to Shreveport. If you want to be considered for the finals, I just right now in your brain, mark off late August, that last weekend of August, the 22nd through the 24th. That is when the finals will be held. They are held in person in Shreveport, and the founder or a co-founder must attend. So if let's say that your company's in there and you've got a couple of teammates, maybe you're a little bit further along, you make it to the finals, you're the founder, but you're gonna punt and send your CTO who joined you like 6 months ago. No, that's really not what this is about. So we're asking if you want to be part of this, that you fully be part of this.
And I
Now,
mean,
if you
also
want to,
just in general,
yes,
like
not a good
forget
look.
startup prize for anything. If you're presenting the company for an award or for investment, and one of the founders isn't there, it sends a pretty strong message to the people in the room where they rank on your level of interest.
Yes, that is also true. Now, that said, you're the founder, you would like to also bring your CTO or bring a co-founder or bring someone maybe that is more on the tech side of things.
Say
can
you have
voice-
a chief medical officer.
Mhm. Yeah, bring them along. That's fine. And like, it doesn't necessarily even mean that they need to also be presenting, but they're there in the room. And should a question come up that you want to defer to them, or they take some of the questions, it's totally fine. I'm realizing now we haven't even talked about what that final experience is. So let me tell you about that. So for me, and I'm sure Mark could kind of agree, this is where Startup Prize really is unique. It's the finals where you finally get to pitch. We give every finalist 1 hour in a room behind closed doors with our judges panel. So that means you're not paraded out onto a stage where you pitch for 10 minutes and then get maybe 3 questions and then get escorted off. We give you a full hour in this room. Mark, would you like to maybe talk a little bit about who is in this room with the founders?
Sure. Here's the way I usually describe it. Instead of a pitch, think of it as an hour-long presentation to the investment committee of a venture fund, except everybody on the committee wants you to succeed as a business. And that means that we have folks who are investors in their day jobs, who run venture funds, attorneys, consultants, and specialized in various areas like hospital administration and things like that. You'll present usually for 20 minutes or so, and then there will be questions. There will be questions, and many of them are predictable. Sometimes there'll be suggestions for how to take this thing you're doing and access a broader market, or tap into a partnership that you might not know exists. But there will be questions. And I can guarantee there will be questions about your IP. And I can almost guarantee you from whom.
Yes, this is true. But to Mark's point, what's really cool about this is it's not an antagonistic space. We've seen it honestly turn into almost like a strategy session. I'm like, I
Yes.
can think of a couple of presentations that literally just became a really collaborative
Mhm.
strategic session, frankly. I mean, like on the outside in.
There was one a couple years ago that almost completely changed the target market of a company that was presenting, because it was a much faster and less regulatorily intense market that was available.
And that startup actually listened and has entered the market. They entered the market this past year. Even though they had applied as an FDA track and competed in the finals as an FDA track, they ended up changing their go-to-market strategy and entered the market direct to consumer in order to begin generating revenue sooner, and are now in the process of applying towards that regulatory path with the FDA. So again, that's the first thing. The second thing is there's money, which is what everyone's looking for these days, right? So we award the winner of each track. The winner of each track will receive $10,000 cash. But Mark, what do we say about the 10K?
That's the small prize.
It's true. It is the small prize because there are investors in that room. There are people that can connect you to investment in that room. There are people in that room that may want to continue mentoring. There are people in that room that may want to come on your advisory board. We've seen it happen before and again. So really, the $10,000, if you're doing things right, maybe that's your Amex bill for your business that month, and we're happy to help you with it. But really, it's those connections that we feel are the real value, and the expertise. That is the real value of this competition. Mike has asked if there is a networking event after the final competition and how many people show up to the post event. Honestly, we keep it kind of small. It's really, the finals are a pretty intimate event. It's not open to the public. I would say what we typically do is we invite everyone in on Friday. All of our finalists are invited to a dinner that evening with any of the judges who are able to join us. We love hosting this dinner because we feel like, one, it allows you to reconnect with some of those, sorry, my focus just turned off, with some of those mentors that you probably have seen during the qualifying events. So there's some familiar faces, but it also lets you meet some of the investors, the other judges that will be in the room on Saturday. So you're not walking in blind to a room full of people you've never met. On Saturday is when we actually host the presentations and pitches. We'll do normally the FDA in the morning and our non-FDA track in the afternoon. On Saturday evening, honestly, I typically take out the founders. It's a nice way to just to kind of take a deep breath. Gregory, who is the founder and executive director of the Prize Foundation and Startup Prize, takes out our judges, and they kind of confer around the day and kind of finalize who those winners are. And then on Sunday, we all come together again Sunday morning, and we host an awards brunch where we present the winners with their checks right there. So how many people show up to the post event? Probably about 40 of us, 50 of us all together. It's just, like I said, again, small, but we really want to provide the opportunity for you to speak with the people in the room, the people that we think are going to make that big difference, or help you hit those next milestones and accomplish those next challenges. Mark, have I missed anything? Anything else?
No, I mean, I've said it a lot. I'm gonna keep saying it. Startup Prize is special because winning the money isn't the thing that this is about. It's about you being successful long term, whether it's with this startup or another one or elsewhere in your career, and making you part of the network that keeps helping year after year after year.
I love that. And it's true. One thing you will see is there is a really strong community around Startup Prize. What makes my heart happy is when I hop on LinkedIn, I'll see founders that I know met at a qualifying event and they're cheering one another on, or connecting them with someone. And it's just really cool to see. So if that is something that appeals to you, come hang out and be part of this. It is 1:52 and I am like kind of not double booked, but like really close double booked. So we have about 8 more minutes. If there are any other questions, we're happy to take them. And of course, all of you at this point should have my contact information. It is like the worst kept secret out there on the internet.
It's not a secret. You put it in the chat.
Well, I know. I mean, like, it's definitely not a secret now. But yeah, you can find me, and I'm happy to to answer any questions that you might have. I typically schedule a 15-minute call with folks that register, just like if there's something more specific, or just like, you're like, I don't quite understand this. Like, I'm happy to kind of help fill in those gaps. Again, we just really want to make sure everyone who's coming knows what they're getting into and is excited to be part of this. So if there's any other questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Trying to think if there's anything else we haven't covered. I feel like we covered a lot. Sorry, y'all, that was dense.
Here's another thing that comes to mind. We will also refer folks to other accelerator programs
Yeah, that's true.
or incubators. We have partners around the country. I mentioned Mass Challenge. I mentioned the iLabs. I mentioned Solve at MIT. There's 5 to 10K is one. Melissa, why don't you run through the list?
Prosper Health Tech,
Um,
which is based out of Birmingham. They're like a generator accelerator specifically to help
Health
bring
Wildcatters.
Yep, out of Dallas, great partner. So, you know, if you're looking for that, and then too, you know, a lot of the founders that come and hang out with us have experiences at these other accelerators too. So it's a great way to kind of get a little intel on some of these other programs, competitions. I send out a monthly newsletter. Every newsletter has a founder spotlight, someone that has participated in startup in years past, just to kind of get an idea of like where they were when they participated and kind of what's come since. We also use those founder spotlights as an opportunity to share with our community, like where the challenges are. So mentors and investors who follow our newsletter know that so-and-so is looking for someone that can help walk them through a patent application or what have you. You see where I'm going with this. Also in that newsletter, we share out other opportunities. I am a big proponent of like cheering everybody on. I will be your biggest cheerleader. So like once you've made it through the program, we share out wins. So anytime we see a company secure extra funding, secure a new partnership, get their product to market. We are sharing that out, cheering people on. It's really important to us. And we also share out other opportunities with people in our network. So yes, Jatana?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
So I was sent this information because I'm considered to be a health-based business, but I'm not quite sure if it fits the criteria because
Mhm.
it may be considered workforce development. But I developed an app to be able to track the core competencies of nurses to make sure that we appropriately match them in the location in the hospital. So my background is trauma and surgical services, and so it will capture if they've met those core competencies to make sure that they're matched in the right hospital in order to decrease, patient fatalities because of nurse, neglect or malpractice.
Yeah, you're non-FDA, you're health focused.
Awesome. Thank you.
You
Okay.
count. I mean, you're working in the health sector. So it could be a service that you're providing to the provider side.
Mhm.
It could be something like sauce that you're developing.
You talk about
productivity.
Quima.
Oh yeah, Quima. So we had Quima was a non-FDA finalist in 2022. Quima, Ali saw that like there was a lot of physical violence and threats to nursing out there. And so Quima was a really like super subtle thing on your name chain or the name tag that was like a little like alert that they could send out to like they could just very subtly ask for like it's a alert system to send security their way. So yes, and like they made it to the finals. Trying to think.
And they've continued going. They've been
Oh yeah.
successful from there. One of the connections they made in the final judging was to a hospital administrator who sort of walked them through the procurement process.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving me that information because I was a little nervous about applying because I didn't know if it quite fit.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you came and like thanks for hanging out and like we can't wait to see you and hear more. And for those of you who are like listening or for those of you who are currently watching a recording, again, like my information was in the chat, Melissa, Melissa at prize.foundation. I'm here to answer any questions. I mean, really, truly, just want to help get people where they need to go.
Well, you're here for the next 3 minutes and then
Yes, the next 3 minutes, you got it. And then I actually will be hopping on a call with a founder to answer questions about Startup Prize. Maybe they should have shown up for this AMA. So, but yeah, with that, I mean, I'm not really seeing any other questions. So again, you have my email. Please reach out if there's anything I can help you with or things that you're trying to understand. If you are registered, please know that aside from like a, hey, it's me, want to hang out, want to talk, can I answer any questions? Aside from that, you probably won't hear from me really until after we get past the registration deadline, at which point I will be reaching out, telling you about the roundtable process, schedule, all the things you need to know. And the only big favor I ask is if you register and anything should change, just let me know. Just tell me. And it's cool. We get it. Things come up. It's fine. There's no judgment. Just say something. Just say, I can't make it. That's all I need. And with that, I don't know, Mark, got anything else to add?
there's a chance you'll get one of those coffee mugs that's underneath the light bulb in Melissa's Kalax shelving unit.
We do like snacks and swag, everybody. So there is that. Oh, and the last thing, we'll end it with this because it's almost 2 o'clock and you'll be hearing it a lot if you hang out with us. Are you ready, Mark?
Not particularly,
I
but go
know.
ahead
I hate
anyway.
that. It's all right. We're gonna make him do it anyway on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Viva
And
the
let's start our
Startup
prize.
Prize! There's a lot of vivaing and occasionally there's tequila. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us today. Again, startupprize.com is where you can register. There's also a short video there that's not quite as detailed as we went into, but if you need a refresher, and of course, feel free to reach out to me. I will help answer any additional questions, and I look forward to seeing everybody's names come through, and I can't wait to hear about what you are out there solving. All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Bye.